So Arsenin, how would you describe your general understanding of ERP implementation success rates in the field? Just in general, if you had to say 60%, 80%, then maybe describe why you feel that way. But what's your thoughts on that? What's your general understanding of success rates?
This is a very perceptive question. And the reason is, if you have not met your goals and you still are live, are you considering that a success, or you just went live? In my opinion, that's a huge difference. If you look at implementations, I think nowadays you get up to the 70, 80% of implementation. And this also depends by vendor, by the way. So now we're talking general, not Infor specific.
Yeah.
And what you see is they just throw either more time or effort or financial, more money at the implementation to get to a point where it can work. In my opinion, that is not really a good success rate. It just means you convert it to a new application, and it may even go backwards in time in the automation that you need for your business. And that is very hurtful. Then, some people declare that success because the application runs. But at what cost, what impact to the business is not looked at as a part of that success. So in the ERP implementation, I always see it's almost like a marriage. You will have your ups and downs, but in the end, you got to be happy together. If one of the two is not happy, then the ERP implementation for me is not a success.
Yeah. Well, in Arsenin, you touched on a point there that I think is true, and it's actually supported by research, and that is people's idea of success changes throughout the course of the project. And one of the reasons for that is because every single, especially a large scale ERP go live, there's a productivity dip. There's a learning curve. There's a little bit of a dip as the organization gets up to speed. They get their cadence right. They get their rhythm. They tune and they tweak. But throughout that whole process, you go through a dip and then you kind of come back out on a curve that's heading in the right direction. But one thing that we find in research is that definition of success, even by the same people, or idea of success, can change throughout the life cycle of the program even. So it's based on metrics, as you mentioned, it's based on perception. It can be based on time. There's a lot to that idea. And I think I appreciate your honesty when you said in general, in the field, somewhere 70-80%, I think is being quite honest. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. Can I add a little bit to this, because this is a really important piece.
Yeah.
And there's two factors that are very important for success of an implementation. And the first one is time to value, because otherwise you get implementation fatigue. You're losing focus, you're losing people, you're losing motivation. And what happens is people go through the motion without that thinking about how can we make things better, and they just want to end that implementation. The second one, which is actually worse, is that during that time, suppose a global implementation takes 3 to 5 years, then what happens if the world changes? If the world changes faster than your implementation can handle, and all your organization changes are faster than the implementation can handle, you're always running behind. You will never finish. Mm-hmm. And that is so critical. That's why we believe that you have to get time to value done faster in order to leverage the capabilities, but also to look at improvement steps after that, instead of having rolled out something that is already 3 years old and doesn't apply to the new world anymore.
That's a great point. That is great insight, Arsenin, and I appreciate it. And that's so true. The idea of fatigue is absolutely significant in the idea of the time value idea. And, the world is changing. And when you and as I have been engaged on large global projects, things do change quite quickly. And if you don't deliver quickly, you find yourself more reacting.